Produced by Podcast Architects.
Welcome back to Hit the Gas, a Podcast Architects production. I'm joined again with guest Ben Wiggins.
Hey, Jake. How's it going?
He's the founder and CEO of the company. Today we're going to be talking about motivation and drive. So, how are you, Ben?
Doing well, Jake. What's going on?
Not much. So I just wanted to kind of get into this. So what drove you to start a business? It's not an easy thing to do by any means. You could be working a regular 9 to 5, but you chose not to. So why did you decide to do that?
Well, so to be clear, I did have a job. Do have a job that has where we've been able to create a significant degree of flexibility, and as a result, the hours are very long.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, I'm not telling any business owner something they don't already know, but we've been able to make it work to where I can do that job and feel like I'm absolutely contributing a very full-time effort to that job, and then also run a business as well. And it is not an easy thing to do.
Right.
But those are the sacrifices that we make to get the things that we really want in life. And I've always wanted to have my own thing. Mm-hmm. I've always wanted to build a successful business. To me, that's to be the person who's making the final decisions is something that really matters to me. And to be able to live and hopefully not die by my own, based on what I see and the team that we're able to build, and what we see. And, it's not the thing you discover about leadership is very quickly it is not about you,
right?
But empowering a team and helping a team get to self-actualization, which is something we talk all the time about, and to outcomes that are really valuable for those team members and for clients and for community partners and for our other partners, our vendors that sell us services and products. To be at the kind of the nexus of all of that is something that I really enjoy. Some people don't like that pressure. I crave it. And I don't know if that means something's wonky inside me. But also the possibilities in owning a business, even in a small ownership share, can be really significant. The financial upside can be really significant. And I cared less about that when I was younger, and I care a little more about it now. Those are kind of the things that got us here. And I started a number of businesses when I was younger that did not work out.
Okay.
This is not my first business, and I'm very grateful to be doing something that's working.
Yeah, it probably feels good to have an idea that really goes well.
Yes.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
So where do you think that comes from? Just that kind of, I want to do my own thing. Most Americans and just people in general are perfectly happy with, you're working long hours. You have your regular job, and that's going to support your family. And you're also, you're in charge of the success of a lot of different people, and that's probably a lot of pressure. So I guess what I'm asking is that something that you just always had, or is it something that maybe you had an experience and it just kind of drove you to be, honestly, I think of it as this kind of like super guy, like you're doing, like you told me one time that you get 30 minutes to yourself every day before you go to sleep. You read a book, and it's usually to improve yourself, and then you go to sleep and you just do it all over again.
Well, so let me push back on a couple of things that you said. The first one is that idea that I'm responsible for a bunch of people's success. I think if I'm doing my job right, those people can be responsible for their own success.
Sure.
A bad boss, a bad company owner can lower the ceiling on other people's success. But if I'm doing my job right, and I've hired the right people, and we've assembled the right group, then all I'm doing is opening the lane for those people to run full speed toward their own success.
Okay.
And I can't make so the reason that you are successful and that you're doing so well with our company is because of the way you are built. And all we do is take off the chains. And not that every other job is going to chain you up and keep you from accomplishing your potential, but we try to see where your strengths are and what you want to learn and what you have the capability to do well, which in your case and in many cases is a lot of things. And then we really emphasize founder mentality, a phrase you hear us say all the time.
Sure.
And all of the people who work with us, we talk about founder mentality all the time. And if you're working with people who have founder mentality, then you really are less responsible for their success than they are for their own success. And that's a position I always want to be in, because I trust other people to be better judges of what is valuable to them and what the success that they want to achieve than I trust myself. The other thing is, I do think that it is important to take some time that is not productive time. So I read, I have never been much of a professional reader until probably the last year or so.
Okay.
I have not had a ton of luck with general business lit. There are some, Good to Great is a fantastic book. The Mom Test is a fantastic book. Never Eat Alone is a fantastic book. Building a Story Brand is a fantastic book. Think and Grow Rich is a fantastic book. How to Win Friends and Influence People. But there is also a lot of highly acclaimed business literature out there that I think is honestly just not very good. However, I think that the more specific you get, if you get into things like books about hiring or books about building a sales team or books about sales in general, I think it's much easier to find stuff that is really compelling and that is not just speaking in terms of, I was at the lowest of the low and then here's how I made $1 billion. I just feel like all the frankly, the Grant Cardone, Mike Michalowicz, it's all about, I was drunk and about to die and now I'm a billionaire. And I'm just not really into all of that.
Sure.
But learning, I value a lot. And so I'm reading a bunch of books. It doesn't matter how many, but a bunch of books at a time right now. And I keep them all in a suitcase because I'm a weirdo. And that's the only way you can cart around a bunch of books. And I need physical. I can't do Kindle for business reading. I do Kindle for personal reading, but for business reading, I need to make notes. So I keep them in the trunk of my car and I take them into work. And then I take them into my home. And sometimes I don't get to read at work very often, but I occasionally do. And I get to read at home from time to time as well. So I do read a lot for business, but the last 30 minutes a day, sometimes 60 minutes a day, depends on the day, is stuff that is not productive.
Okay.
It's reading for pleasure.
Okay.
And it's, or playing video games or,
Sure.
Stuff like that. I'm playing Warhammer 3 right now, Total War.
Yeah.
But that time, I think that it is unsustainable to just go all of your waking hours. I think you have to take time to yourself. And I think that people end up unhappy if they don't take that time for themselves. But having said that, I work a lot.
Yeah.
And I come home and play with the kids. And then when the kids go to bed, I spend time with my wife. And then when my wife goes to bed, I'm back at the office, not back at the office necessarily, but at my home office. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I'm working on financial stuff and other times I'm working on stuff for podcast architects. And so that's the life. And I think, this is it always easy? No. But is it fulfilling? Yes. And is it the life I wanted, the life I signed up for? Yes.
Okay.
So the challenge is, no life is perfect. Everybody's got hardships. Everybody's got challenges. But are they the challenges you want?
Sure.
And in my case, I'm very fortunate and grateful to say that the answer is yes.
That's excellent. Yeah, that kind of answers one of my other questions that I had for you, which was balancing family life with work life. And that's great.
One thing on family for people who have a lot to do in their work life, what I've found works very well, and I think a lot of people do this, is live your closest approximation of a normal life, and then either get up early or work late. Like, come home, spend time with your kids, eat dinner with the family, go to the soccer game, whatever it may be, go play blocks,
Sure.
play Magna-Tiles, My son loves to, my son and my daughter both love to, like, I'll throw them around on our bed or whatever. They like jumping on the bed and bouncing on the bed.
Right.
And just kind of try to make it what life would be like if you just got to come home at 5 every day.
Okay.
And then spend time with your partner or your spouse or your boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever it may be. And if you don't have kids, invest in that relationship as though you didn't work all these hours, and try to give them as normal a life as possible. And then when it gets quiet, that's when you can get some of your best work done.
Sure.
Whether you're a get up early person or a go to bed late person. I've always envied people who are get up early people. I can do it, but I'm just more productive when I do the work late rather than early.
Yeah, I was about to ask, I don't know. I try to be a go to bed late and get up early person, but that's not very healthy. So
Yeah, I do think that it's other things that can make us more productive as business people is get 7 to 7.5 hours of sleep a night. I think 8 is, I can't make myself sleep 8 hours a night unless I'm really worn out. But 7.5, I can get to 7.5. And I think that's going to be good enough for now.
So you think sleep is pretty important for...
Very.
Okay.
Very, yeah. I think that the health costs are high and rising for not sleeping enough. And it's very easy to say, hey, sleep 8 hours a night, but the details of how to get there are much more challenging.
Right.
Like limiting device use after around bedtime, limiting caffeine intake later in the day, being mindful of alcohol consumption.
Right.
Alcohol will knock you out, but what is the sleep quality like? It's much diminished if you put yourself to sleep by drinking.
Sure.
And it's not a value judgment. It's just scientific fact.
Sure.
I don't have any problem. I have a beer from time to time when I'm out of whiskey. But limiting drinking and eating protein, eating fruits and vegetables, like it's the stuff that we've always heard all our lives.
Sure.
But it's also, it's how you stay, active. It's how you keep the young person energy. And that stuff really matters. So you get to be my age, like the ability to just like get up and go like you did when you were younger. And I've never been a sleep 2 hours a night type of dude. I could never get away with that. But I do feel like something that I have benefited from is an abundance of energy, like into my 40s now, in a way that I feel like some people's energy has started to tail off by the time they get to my age. And it's not because I'm some genius or some superhuman or anything.
Genetic freak.
No, I wish. But I do think that some of it is good luck. Some of it is just probably genes, but some of it is also, I think, the result of good habits.
Sure.
And I was fortunate to have people much wiser than myself tell me the stuff that could put me in a position to keep being able to do the grind, because sometimes it is a grind.
It is a grind. Speaking of the grind, do you think success is a product of healthy habits? Like,
I think success is a product of a lot of things. It's a product of, one, luck. Like there is I'd always rather be lucky than good. It's a function of luck and another form of luck, which is frankly privilege. I think that success begets success. And if you're, what is a better predictor? The best predictor, I read once that the best predictor of someone's wealth is their parents' wealth. And so, and I will never hide the fact that I come from a fortunate financial situation. And in many respects, I was born on third base. And I'm not going to act like I just hit a triple. But having said that, I do think that it's possible for people to become successful that did not come from financial success.
Sure, absolutely.
Obviously. We see that kind of story all the time. But luck and privilege do play a role. I do, to answer the question you actually asked, though, is I do think habits are critical in determining success, because your habits, they become your destiny. And so building good habits, reducing bad habits. One thing I've tried to reduce a lot, and I alluded to this earlier, is I used to have a nightcap, a drink every night before bed. And now having 7 drinks a week is not necessarily the best thing to do.
Sure.
From a health perspective. And research keeps showing up that says like alcohol consumption is long-term very bad news. So I'm not trying to quit cold turkey, but now 5 nights a week, I'll have a third of a drink and just really savor the taste because I like the taste.
Sure.
But just paying attention to that and like working my way down little by little. I've never been a smoker, making sure I get consistent sleep. I've tried to ramp up my fruit and veggie consumption. We talked about that earlier. Protein's always been pretty good for me, but yeah, habits.
Okay. I have read somewhere that that a very common thing with successful people is fitness, is that they're very physically fit. And I think it's not that being fit does something to you, because I know a lot of fit, not very successful people, but that they were able to have the discipline to go to the gym and kind of work on something for a very consistent amount of time. So I think that also has maybe something to do with it.
Maybe. I do think that there is that being active, I do think increases your energy.
Okay.
And I'm sure there's research somewhere out there that would back that up. I'm very confident that that's true. I do also think that you're less likely to get sick if you're physically active. I think it leads to stronger immune systems, and it's certainly you're less likely to get laid up with stuff that, like little injuries, I think, are less frequent for people who are very active.
Absolutely.
And the ability to just be mobile and get up and move around, the ability to carry things around, it just makes a lot of parts of life easier. I also think, though, that there's a little bit of a lurking variable there, which is I think that really motivated people are more likely to be successful, but also more likely to be fit. So it could appear there may be a confounding effect there, where it appears that fitness causes success, but really motivation is causing both.
Right. That makes sense. Well, this brings me to my last question, and that's what motivates you?
Oh gosh. Well, so I think that everybody has a different journey in terms of their personal philosophy or faith, whatever they may believe or not believe. There are people out there who are many people who take a more atheistic approach, and each their own. For me, I happen to be of the Christian faith, and that's something, glorifying God in the things that I do is something that's important to me. And I don't pretend to understand everything about my faith, but my faith journey is important, and that's something that's a consistent daily motivator. Family's a big deal for me. I'm just kind of hitting the cliches here. Faith and family, Jake, that's what really matters.
Yeah.
But it is my wife and my 2 kids, my family of origin, my parents, brothers and sisters, my uncles and aunts, nephews and nieces. Those people are truly a delight to me, and I try to delight in them. And I hope that my success, whatever it may look like in the long term, will help me give to them in such a way that, Warren Buffett, give your kids enough money that they can do anything, but not enough money that they can do nothing. And then other things that motivate me, success and respect. Those are motivators for me. And sometimes I have to check myself on those, because sometimes the desire for respect, I think, takes on a little bit of an unhealthy timbre for me every now and then. Like there's times when I get mad when I perceive disrespect, and that's a character flaw in me. And the fear that underlies that is that I'm insignificant in some way, or that my life doesn't matter.
Wow.
And so I fight against that. And what I need to do is accept my gift from, in my case, my gift from God, and to sit with the fact that I am significant because, in my belief system, because God loves me, and that is all I need. But that's not always easy.
No, it's not.
I wrestle with that a lot, and so meaning for me, and and motivation. I have to be careful not to make success an idol. and sometimes that's a struggle.
Absolutely.
And other things that motivate me are happiness, just sort of general
Yeah.
happiness
Okay.
and finding community, building meaningful relationships with, the people, obviously with my family, people that I go to church with, people that I work with, building meaningful relationships with people like yourself. That is good and proper, I think. And getting to know the people that you work with, not just as employees, but as people, the self-actualization part of
Sure.
it. That is those things I really enjoy. So does that answer your question?
That totally answers my question. Yeah, that was great. Fantastic. Well, thank you all for tuning into this week's episode of Hit the Gas. Again, I was joined by Bid Wiggins, the CEO and founder. Please click the link in the description, podconsulting.co, if you want to learn more about what we do as a company and if you want to start your own show. Thank you very much.
Produced by Podcast Architects.